Making sure that you are reaching out to the right set of people actually makes a difference.
The Indian ecosystem is very well thought of around the world.
It's a myth that Indian startups can only raise from Indian, investors.
India is the world leader in the AI space.
First and foremost, how many of you are looking at startups or in startups or looking to raise funding over the next year, 2 years? Good? Good. Excellent. So, I'm sure, can you hear me? You can hear me loud and clear? Yeah? Oh, okay. Okay. Good. So, this is one of the most talked about subjects in the startup ecosystem. Two pieces. One is the fundraising piece, and the second is how do I expand? How do I expand within the country, and how do I expand beyond the borders of India? Okay, because if you want to really scale and you want to really grow, these pieces and being part of a good global ecosystem is extremely important. Now, pre-COVID, India saw a tremendous boom in startup fundraising with overseas funds coming in, angel investors putting in money. But COVID and beyond, that saw a tremendous dip. It saw a dip because the entire thought process of investors globally changed. They wanted to start backing projects which actually showed traction, which actually showed potential for global scalability, not just local scalability, but also global scalability. And I think that's where you saw, post-COVID, you saw a tremendous dip in investments coming into the country. We're here to figure out how we can help with that ecosystem. And the professionals here, the panelists on stage, will share with you their experiences and what you can actually do to change that scenario. So, having said that, let me first open out the floor for some brief comments on your thought processes. I'm going to open out the floor now to my fellow panelists for a brief comment, a minute or two maximum, please. Yeah, on what your thoughts are about the current fundraising scenario, both in India and outside. We've got a perspective of people who are raising funds, a startup that has raised funds as in the process of raising funds, investors and advisors. So you'll get a different perspective from all sides. So Arun, over to you.
So I currently work on something called as Startup Singam, wherein we are trying to facilitate funding for startups from Tamil Nadu. And so I will share a couple of learnings that I had. What started as a very humble idea with one mission, how to simplify the whole fundraising process and how to actually go ahead and tell the success stories, tell the stories loud. So these were the simple thoughts that we had when we actually wanted to start this program. But how it evolved over a time, what started off as something when we wanted to do a 5 crore, 10 crore funding and went to a stage wherein 55 crores of funds has been committed to startups, 39 startups. So my learning includes, usually when we talk about startups, the startup that comes into my mind or anybody's mind is normally the startups who are in the tech space or mostly in the D2C space. And I was also under the impression that this is what the investors want. But we were actually able to go ahead and reach out to different parts of the state, the widespread state in fact, and we were able to bring to mainstream some of the startups which a VC would never reach out to and a startup who will never reach out to. So I reached out to a guy who has an instrument, who has actually recreated an instrument which is 1,500 years old, and it is written in some of the old books, mythology books, and he has tried to recreate it. And he was selling it. So when we actually reached out to him, he was shying away from it. I don't know how investors will look at me. But what surprised us is when when he came in front of the investors, investors were excited to go ahead and fund the startups. So the problem is not, so what we are trying to do right now is we are trying to bridge the gap between increase the visibility of the startups for the investor and the startup to actually reach out to the investor. So you cannot be defined by some, in quotes, you cannot be defined by a startup only if you are in a specific size or specific thing that you do. That is not the definition for startups. Startups could be anybody who actually want to actually create a business. And what the investors' comments that came to me are, these may not be the typical 100x of the unicorn products. These are the sure shot 2x, 3x in the next 1 or 2 years type product, which is like a easy bet for the investors. And these check sizes are also very small. Yeah, moving forward, we'll have a longer conversation. We'll share my thoughts.
Apoorva, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Arun. So basically, myself Apoorva, and I will give my perspective from the startup side. Like I am the CEO and co-founder of Edubuk, which is into emerging technology skilling. We do AI, blockchain, cybersecurity, cloud computing, data analytics skilling for youth, and that too in a no-code manner. That's one. Secondly, we record student credentials on the blockchain, like their CVs and certificates and all, to help the employers to do background verification easier. Now, we have raised till date $300,000 from both like the traditional way and the non-traditional way, from various grants from blockchains and all, and also grants from governments and all, and also VC investment as well. So that's something that I'll talk a lot more about. But regarding like a quick comment on what I see is that we have like, it's a myth that Indian startups can only raise from Indian, investors. What I'll tell you, it's not true. We have raised from UAE, we have raised from Singapore, we have raised from US. So different investor types and different blockchains out of different countries, we have raised the money from, right? It's all about like you filling those, application forms and everything can happen on merit basis. We are a great example of it. You don't need to know someone who knows the investors and only do the warm introductions. As long as you can, just go to the website, fill the form, and as long as your startup is good enough, they'll come back to you and invest. One more last thing before I conclude is that in India, the investors and everyone mostly, invest in a proof of concept already done, have an MVP, have early customers. But in outside, like in Singapore, in UAE and other, even in US, people are more, VCs are more open to invest in moonshot ideas. And also like, deep tech, but then have a 6-7 months time frame to develop their product and all. So they can do a good pre-seed. But Indian investors usually take, a back seat and then they come little later in this stage, relatively later. They do invest in pre-seed as well, but you need a proof of concept first. So yeah, so that's something I'll tell about my experience, how we raise from Singapore to UAE and all, and from traditional as well as non-traditional ways. Thank you.
Christophe, over to you, Christophe.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ish. Thank you, Arun. Thank you, Apoorva. Hello, everyone. I'm Christophe. I'm head of strategy of iCapital Ventures. That is a decentralized private investment organization. So, about your question is what is very important in our point of view is we are in new models, not traditional models about investment and about finance. So in these new models, there is 3 pillars that we use at iCapital Ventures, of course. And the 3 pillars are decentralization. And in India, as you know that, you are a world-class asset in terms of technology, in terms of innovation. So we know that. That's why we have a very good sessions here from the last 3 days. And about decentralization, what is very important is we have at iCapital Ventures, we have retail investors. And the strength is the number. And I cannot learn anything about this in India. It's in your NDA. Strength is the number. So retail investors are very powerful. We have 6,000 members at iCapital Ventures, and they are doing investment. So the first one is decentralization. But as you said, Apoorva, The second one is globalization. Globalization, it means that international investment, international approach of your startup. Think global, act local, but act global as well is very important, because international investors and retail investors have to trust you, have to trust your capacity to engage yourself and your strategy into international approach. Second word, globalization. Last one, but not the least one. We are more speaking about financial innovation. We represent retail investors. Of course, we have VCs because we have a specific entity called iCapital Ventures Securitization that is for VCs, LPs, or family offices, because we know that for startups or for SMEs, because we don't speak only for startups, SMEs are always funding or always aware about international markets. So in that way, we need to provide for our retail investors and our VCs, we need to provide the right platform, the right services to explain the financial innovation you have. And for that, we have the right platforms for the primary market, because the investors can go into the direct invest into your equity with the primary market. We have a specific platforms for that called iCapital. And there is another one that is for the secondary market. Secondary market is like a neo-bourse. When you're a neo-bourse, it's another financial innovation. So on your way, and I'm going to sum up about that ish because I take time, on decentralization with retail investors, on globalization, and on financial innovation, you have to put your own way and your own strategy. We have all the platforms to host you as an asset, because we manage already 100 assets, digital assets, and of course it's startups, SMEs, we are in agriculture, we are in commodities, and all this opportunity of investment for international retail investors. And in that way, this is the new models we have, and the new models we want to share in India, because we are there to develop our technologies, to develop our approach of the market with India startups, India investors, because we globalize this approach for you and securitize for the investors, because the risk management is an asset, it's very regulated, and we do that for the investors and for the startups to be the link, as you say, Arun, to be the bridge and the meeting point from the investors to the startups and SMEs.
Thanks, Christophe. Over to you, Maneesh.
Yeah, hello everyone. Thanks Ish, and thanks everyone over here. So briefly about touching upon like how the market is moving, and every day we look at the stock market and you see like why like every day there is a red mark. From the last 2 days it being positive, but it's still going on negative, negative and negative. What is the reason behind it, right? So at times when the market being over bubbling and it being heated up, so if you look at the P multiple of the Indian stock market, it is close to 26. If you look into China, it is 16. If you look into US, it is 24. So the question is like, because of the overheating, and it's something like it being now settling it down, and it is a correction that being taking place. Okay. Now one question that arises is it a good time for the startup to raise funds? How the investor looking at? What is their perspective? So I would say it's always being a good time to raise fund for good ventures when you are building it up. Don't get confused and messed up with the thing like, abhi paisa nahi mil raha hai. It is nothing like that. You believe in the conviction, you play the story, you look at the playbooks the people have already created and try to work upon it and place it the way. One thing that being said over here, like you should not only just limit yourself to the Indian market. Look at the global scenario, global market. Generally we say in our language, what is the TAM, total addressable market? Don't just look at there may be the different stages that you look at. Maybe India one, then we go to then we go to the third. Because the margin is on the higher side when you go to the other markets, right? So we need to look at that way, as well as I would say that from the perspective of raising fund, try to look at raising that much of the fund which is most necessary that is required to. Otherwise, what will happen? If somebody is giving you the fund more from the equity perspective, you are diluting too much at your early stage. So look at raising fund only for which can have the runway of 18 months, able to suffice it for 18 months, then go for the next round. Okay, so that is my point.
Thanks, Maneesh. Thank you. Dr. Sharma, from your perspective, you've got experience both in the European Union as well as in India. What do you have to share?
Thanks, Ish. Am I audible? Ish, when I look at the India, is it better? Okay. So I will focus on the European perspective, how we are really looking at the investment. And if you look at European Union, the things have changed quite significantly over the last decade. And if I'm talking in the Netherlands, we talk the three core areas where the investments is coming. We talk about deep tech, sustainability, and circularity. So, and if I look at the Indian startups, we do talk, the language is not matching between the European Indian startups. So the startup ecosystem, India is the biggest startup ecosystem in numbers. But if we look at the total market, which is the biggest in India, there is a lot of European monies which can come in, but still the structures are not there. So I have seen that there is big interest in Europe towards India, but India and startups structurally is not there yet. So that's where I feel sometimes missing. And in my last decade of investing, the three areas which has emerged, the deep tech, the sustainability and circularity, has become the biggest core focus areas in Europe. And in India, I miss these three words, even though we are the leader. So when we talk about deep tech, India is the world leader in the AI space. So the number of AI innovations happening in India, even though we have not created a deep sea, but I am looking forward to the deep sea coming from India. So what I see the difference compared to Europe and India is this. The first one is how we are looking at it. How is the total impact we can create? Because we have a potential to be the global. I was involved in the agri-tech startups in India and Europe. I'm still mentoring and investing into agri-tech startups. But the area of agri-tech startups coming from India or compared to Europe, they are thinking much more global scenario. In India, we are still, even though Indian market is so big, everyone thinks India is so big, why do I need to think? But what solutions we can create can have the impact around the world. And then the money is available. I never see that liquidity is an issue. The investments is an issue. It's the right messaging towards your partner in the financial VCs. And if you can talk to their language and do the research about them. Because there are some VCs who go in very early stage, and there are some VCs who go in the post revenue. So for those things. So I've seen that difference between Indian startups. Sometimes the only thing what I hate is in the startup is I call the PowerPoint startups. So if we go beyond PowerPoint startups, I love to talk to them.
Thank you. Thank you, Ajay. Thank you very much. So, so thank you very much, gentlemen. To start up with, we have a lot of angel investments happening in India, but we tend to see a huge shortfall in risk capital. Now, I'm going to direct my question towards two people. Arun, for you to start with. You work with a lot of small, first-time entrepreneurs. What has your experience been when you have a background with the Thai network, with various foundations? What's your experience been with risk capital coming in for startups when they need it? And risk capital is extremely important when ideas need to be backed to the hilt.
So I'll talk about it in a little different perspective. So one of the thing is an investor, when you connect with an investor, it's almost like getting married. So making sure that you are reaching out to the right set of people actually makes a difference. So ABC companies are getting funded from XYZ investors. So I will also go and pitch to that mindset is something which I think startups need to change. They should also do a little bit of research. So even if the fund comes in from one of the investors, their policies and the way they want to formulate the terms may not be in alignment with the kind of a growth mindset that you have. So one very important thing is making sure that the right alignment is there. And of late I have been seeing that ish wherein startups are saying no to investors, saying that, and these are not startups who are in the Series A or the pre-Series A round. At the angel stage itself, startups are telling that I have gone through this investor's profile, and somewhere I feel like the values don't match. So that matching of the values is also very important. And there is a lot of funds that is available in the market, but the task for the startups is to actually make sure that you reach out to the right kind of investor. So as long as you can reach out to the right investor at the right time, so somebody doesn't want to invest when you are in the idea stage. So there is no point in going in pitching to them at the idea stage. They are anyways not going to invest in you. But one advice that I tell the startup is, so you need to understand. So if you are at the idea stage, at a POC stage or an MVP stage, which are the investors that you want to invest in. So the next 1 year, so like have your product roadmap, have a roadmap for your investment plans also. Making sure that you let the investors know you exist. So letting the investors know that you exist in the ecosystem. So it's not about asking about funds. So when you meet somebody, straight away go and say, hi sir, can I have your email? And just go ahead and put in a 1 line or 2. Hi sir, we met at this event. This is what I'm going through. Just want to keep you posted. And keep them posted about your growth. At some point of time when you really want to raise funds, and when you go to say Ish or Chris, it should not be like, he should not be hearing you for the first time. He should have that thing in your mind, oh, this is the guy who has, or the lady who has been writing to me. I know where this has been growing. I know who are the customers. And even if they don't invest, so let me tell you, as an investor, when we go ahead and invest, so investors do meet in a lot of networking events and they talk to each other, hey, this guy has reached out. You think you're an idea stage and people won't discuss. Every investor discuss with his peers, people discuss. Even if at least one person in the group says that, yeah, I know this guy has been following me and sending me these updates. That is a great validation for you. You're validating yourself that I have built this over the next 1 year, and all of a sudden you go to an investor, he will have to do a background check for you from your idea stage. If you could actually eliminate that, your investment process actually goes up. And like when you plan for your roadmap, when into hiring and things like that, always plan, I want to go for an investment from 8th month of my journey. So who will be that one single person who will actually go ahead and burn the midnight oil to raise funds for me? So there is no scarcity of funds. There is only that investors or the startups say that right now I'm building the product. So investments are also as important as building your product. So if you are a visionary founder and if you actually are looking forward to raise funds in this thing, create an investment roadmap. Who are the investors you want to actually meet at different stages? Create a plan for reaching out to them, connect with them from the early days itself. This is something which I said.
Thank you very much, Arun. So for all of you, build relationships. I think at the end of the day, if you've started building relationships with investors earlier on in your journey and you've kept them updated, you will see a lot of difference in the entire process. So having said that, my next piece will be for Maneesh. Maneesh, you've operated in the Indian ecosystem extensively. Traditional models and seem to work well, the angel piece. Why doesn't risk capital come into India? What's the biggest reason, or what's the main reason that you see a lack of risk capital?
Okay. So when you say risk capital, of course, like, hello, audible? Okay. So when you say risk capital, yes, of course, like generally look into who are the people who are going to invest. Okay, it can be the angel investor, it can be the VC who is coming and investing, looking at your idea, looking at your belief, what you are building upon it. But the question is still, when you say like investment into the deep tech segment, okay? Take example, suppose somebody is building a rocket launcher and he want to raise the capital. So the time frame that being required to do the thing, that is roughly like 3 years, maybe 2 years down the line, it's going to build something, right? You cannot expect on day one. Suppose you go to an investor and he's saying, "Aapka traction kya hai?" How can I say traction? I've been building something deep, and it may take a 2 and 3 years roadmap in order to at least go to the level where I'm ready for launching that thing. Okay? So the question is like, as on date, if I see deep tech investment in Indian perspective, that's not so deep, I would say. People are not going and investing so much deep into it. But the question is like, still, if you are building something which is a scalable model, which can serve to the global level, then the question is like, it is not about where you are raising the fund. You can talk and start raising the fund, talking to anybody across the globe, okay? But so Indian perspective, I would say that deep tech is still, a lot of people don't want to invest into the patient capital, because this is the patient capital, and that you need to have, you need to bury with the idea what the founder is building upon it, okay? Because like everybody wants to get a 10x, not 100x return, but the question is nobody want to invest on the day one when you feel that, okay, whether it will go, actually go out, the idea will go and rock the show or not, okay? So the question is like, but now the things are a little bit changing and people start realizing that there are segments where, now there is 100 crore, that is a space fund that has been launched by the government as well. Now the government is also initiating that thing, that yes, of course, from the deep tech area also, the investment should go, and India should also build something like an open chat GPT or OpenAI, and that sort of stuff, India people should also build it.
Thanks, thanks Maneesh. So what you're saying is that if you have the patience, which most investors in India don't right now, but you're seeing that trend change, I hope, and if the right target is there, you will see that investment come through.
Yeah, I would say another thing, like how to go about it, how to build the road. Suppose we are building something in a deep tech, maybe going and getting the first check writing from the Indian investor may be difficult. Suppose, don't go with the Indian investor on the first go. Go for an international investor, convince somebody, and somebody who's been coming in an advisor, or somebody who knows that particular segment and market, then that sort of connect. Then the Indian people also coming and start investing along with it. So that can be a reverse approach that can also be possible. You
Perfect.
need to be subtle enough in whatever you've been doing.
Perfect. Thank you. Thanks, Maneesh. So globally, what's happening is we've now become a borderless world. There's more money flowing across borders. There's more funding models that are coming up in the market. Now, I think what all of you have to realize, and what the Indian markets have to realize, and I know that's happening slowly but steadily, is that we are beginning to adopt and run with models that are prevalent across the world. So we have Christophe, who comes in from Paris and Geneva, and he is one of the architects behind the iCapital Ventures Fund, which is domiciled in Luxembourg. And we've created an ecosystem at the fund where you've got several pieces that are there in the ecosystem that can be plugged in, plugged out. There can be OPEX, CAPEX, there can be various pieces of the equity play. So having said that, I think Christophe, maybe you can just shed briefly a little light on how these ecosystems work. How do you see it working in India?
Thank you, Ish. In our point of view, what is very important, of course, is the networking, is the ecosystem, the bridges between investors, retail investors or institutional investors, on startups, deep tech, as you said, but SMEs or commodities, the key is the investor, the risk management. What I could say, because we speak a lot about raising funds, but this is a starting point. This is not an ending point. The starting point is when you got the money. So what I will speak about is governance. The responsibility as an entrepreneur, as a startup, as an SME, is to have the right governance with your stockholders, the right governance with your investment, and the right governance with your technologies. Because this is the mix and the promise you make to your investors. So an investor is expecting from you liability, is expecting from you transparency. You have to say the very good news, of course, but you have to say the very bad news as well, because they are with you, they are very close to you. They can be very supportive in that way. So governance is the key. You got your tech, your innovation, you got your finance innovation, but governance will be the leading point of your strength into a mid-term and long-term point of view. So I just wanted to speak about governance because money, of course, this is the key point to develop your activity, but trust and mid-term vision will be very close to this topic. So this is only the word I wanted to say about governance. Don't forget it. It's a mid-term vision you share with your existing investors, and your existing investors could be your future investors and a good point of start. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Christophe. So one of the things that I've seen and I've experienced in the fundraising space across the world is legally compliance from a regulatory perspective, from a governance perspective. If you're not perfect, overseas capital will not flow into your ventures. Remember, you need to make a watertight case. People are putting in monies from across the world into your venture. They want to know how that money is being managed. They want to know what's being done with it. They want to know whether there is accountability, scalability, and how do you take charge of that. They are not going to be sitting here on a day-on-day basis with you, and they're not going to be governing you, but they expect systems to be in place. And one of the things that I've seen in the Indian ecosystem is we talk, but we don't have the right systems in place many times. And I think that's what we need to do, definitely, to encourage global capital to come into the Indian ecosystem. The Indian ecosystem is very well thought of around the world. There's no question of that. People have the highest regard for what we do in India. But there is that hesitation. How do you push that guy across the line? Yeah? And how do you make that money actually come in? So over to you, Dr. Sharma. What's your perspective on alternative pieces of, funding coming into the Indian market?
One thing which I am, sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
People think the fundraising is a part-time job for a CEO. That's the biggest mistake the startup do. Fundraising is a full-time job. And if we don't focus on that one, even though you can have the best idea, you're doomed to fail. Because most of the time, the founders have their own passion. They know what, they can have a best story, but they don't know how to talk to the people. And that's where the things got missed. And I have seen the, just give you a recent example. I was just few days ago, I was in Bangalore. I met a startup, brilliant startup, Indian Institute of Sciences. They are doing it with them. And I can call them deep tech. They are putting memory in the DNA and they can retrieve the data from the DNA. So if this comes, this will revolutionize. We don't need the memory stick at all. In the one space of DNA, we can store the whole India data. That kind of thing's gonna happen. But their vision is like, okay, I asked them, they wanted to do till the whole product is made. I said, you're not made for that. if you change your focus, and that's where I always feel that the startups lose their focus area. And this is one of the advice I gave them. I said, don't go and build the product, build the knowledge. You are a knowledge, the research-based startup. And sometimes we just don't know who we are. And that's where I see that when you, now we'll come back to your question on the regulatory and the alternative fundraising model. There is a lot of money, but how you structure the money is also the complex part. I have seen that. Like what Christophe said, we can raise the funds through decentralized way, the tokenization way. The money has become abundant if we go in the alternative way. So that's one aspect. But not all the countries are very well accepted to do it. So if you come to Europe, in Netherlands for instance, it is well accepted, but you have to structure it very well, how you do it. The second is, when we are talking about regulatory framework and the governance, which I really love the Christophe part, that is the most critical part where people forget, the communication to the investor. And that's when the things fail. And in the Europe, which I always feel that the startup governance plays much bigger role. So I'm part of some the startup ecosystems from European Union as well as the Netherlands system. The communication is always the most key. It's not about doing right things or only talking right things, but it's most about is talking the things which I'm not able to do or which I'm facing difficulties. And that is where we need the support. The good things everybody will talk. And that's where I feel the biggest issue is. And in the Europe, we put that governance put it. So it's a full-time job. Yeah.
I agree with you. Absolutely, I agree with you. Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Next piece is very important. So all of you who are raising funds, have raised funds, I'm going to ask Apoorva to relate his story. He's one of those startups that has raised money and has gone through a journey, not just within India, but around the world. Now, I think seeing is believing or touching, feeling is believing. You need to be able to hear it firsthand, how he did it, why he did it, what were the ingredients to his success. So, Apoorva, over to you. Yeah, relate your story so that everybody can hear it.
Thank you, sir. So, I'll start from the top-down view, and then I'll tell how we raised from wherever we have raised. So we have raised around 2.5 CR, like $300,000 till now in Indian rupees. Now, around 80 lakhs of it comes from non-traditional funding routes. That means, grants from not only governments, like government in India we have raised, not raised, basically we have got grants that startups usually do not look at in India. In India, at the ideation to pre-seed stage, you can look at grants from HDFC, Parivartan startups, right? Then you have Kotak Mahindra banks, right? That's one route. Second is, we are a Telangana-based startup, so Telangana has a good ecosystem from TSIC, Telangana State Innovation Cell. Similarly, now the UP government is doing via the Invest in UP and Start in UP. So first of all, you get DPIIT registered with the central government. Then you get a state government certificate. Then, if your idea, obviously, because we are all startups, we are by default disruptors in nature. So if your idea is one of the disruptors, you pitch into these state incubators or state accelerator programs like T-Hub, Telangana Hub in Hyderabad. Then from there, central government, when they have to give investments via the seed fund scheme or other schemes, they do not give directly to the startups. They give the fund to these incubators. And then it is upon you to be incubated there and tell about your startup and everything. And then these incubators will then fund you. So around 80 lakh rupees is what we have raised from these T-Hub incubator, TSIC, Telangana State Innovation Cell. And that's one piece, and even HDFC Bank. So we keep on applying a lot of places. So one thing that startups don't do is, there are a lot of programs, even today after this there is Startup Mahakumbh that is coming, right? So there are a lot of, on LinkedIn everywhere, there's a lot of forms being floated. Then there are programs like Samrit. There are different programs by the central government schemes. But then in these incubators, you have to just fill a simple form. This is just a 20-25 minutes maximum it will take. Earliest it can take 10-15 minutes. They will just ask you same questions. What is the problem statement? What is your solution? How is it unique? Why should we consider you? Upload your DPIT certificate and all that. Fill that form, and 90% of the times you at least get on the first call with the potential incubator. Then there will be a pitch round. Then you pitch, and then on merit basis you get those funds. So that's one part. Second part is the grants that we have got from the blockchains. That we have got from Singapore XDC. We have got, because one of the solutions that I told was regarding the certificates and CVs on the blockchain that we are putting. So we apply to various accelerator programs by these layer 1, layer 2 blockchains like, the XDC program, Polygon program. So $50,000, around 40 lakh rupees, we have raised out of that 2.5 CR from these routes. What you have to do is, you have to tell what you are doing, and everyone outside India knows India is a very big market, as big as China or even bigger, in terms of population and all. So if you are doing really good something in India, then it should be like, they are happy to invest, but you have to take that first step to apply to those forms, then, tell about what you are doing, then they'll be pitching around and everything. So they are open to invest as long as you are willing to take that first step. But people don't even take that first step. They don't even know that you can do this grant stuff. So $10,000 from Polygon, $10,000 from European-based Concordium startup, Concordium blockchain. Sorry. So even it's a very strange thing that even these are startups. Blockchain is just like, I know it's from 2008-9, but then these recent layer 1 blockchains are like hardly 7 or 8 years old. Even they are investing because they want people like us, startups like us, to build on top of their blockchains. That's how they will get transactions. So as much as we need them, they also need us. They cannot, or otherwise they'll be just be ghost chains, right? So that's another route that we have raised. Then once we did the XDC accelerator program in Singapore, they then went ahead and introduced us to their parent company, XVC Tech, which is a seed to pre-seed stage VC fund. Then they invested $100,000, right? So we started from, India, Telangana state, DPIT certificate from the center, NSDC accelerator program, we're the top 10 out of the 350 plus applications. Then plus add to that, there are a lot of awards that we have also got. For that also you just have to fill a simple form, then there'll be a pitch screening and all. Now when you get these awards like we got from NSDC, National Skill Development Corporation, Harvard, MIT and all that globally, what this tells other investors is that, okay, you are doing something that is actually vetted or checked by various senior peoples across different organizations. We have got awards from MIT, Harvard, IIT Bombay, IIM Calcutta. There are a lot of competitions. So, all startups should participate in those competitions because you get an opportunity to pitch, and the more the opportunity you get to pitch, you will basically become more and more, expert at it. And when there is an actual VC or actual angel investor in front of you, then you will have that experience, and you will always be knowing what usually the questions people ask, and then you can answer accordingly. So all these awards, pitches, all these competition, governments, startups and all that you should take part in. Then once you have done that, then these guys will introduce you to their VCs, and then you can take the investment from there. And now we are happy that we'll be raising another round, a bigger one, a $1 million round. It's kind of a seed round that we'll be raising, but that we will raise now because we have the traction now with the colleges that we teach, plus the earlier backers, where we can show that we are trusted by so many 40 plus global organizations, including most of them in India also, NSDC, IITs, IIMs and all. Like we got day before yesterday, we have coming from IIM Bangalore, NSRCL incubation program. So we got incubated there. I have the co-founder Shivani with me. It's a women startup program that we got incubated there. Then T-Hub is another one. Then AKTU, in UP, start in UP, they are calling us to get incubated there. So there, if you are doing good, these incubators also want you to be a part of their incubation cell. So it's on the startup to just get on these rounds. So that's how we have raised traditional and non-traditional routes. But yes, in India, as even Maneesh was saying, initial angel investment is there, but then they still need some traction and all. The patient capital is a problem still in India, but then till that time, you start raising through the grant route or the seed fund scheme, you know, or like the Samrit scheme. They are giving 40 lakh rupees matching grant. Samrit scheme. It's various incubators. It's all over LinkedIn. Be on LinkedIn. Like I have 10,000 followers. Shivani has 16,000. Most of our first connections, even Dr. Sindhu Bhaskar sir, who introduced us to Dr. Ish, practical example, and today I'm here. You know, it's all just LinkedIn. LinkedIn is really a gold mine. You don't have to go to Instagram, Facebook and all. No, just send them a message about your startup. Very, very simple. If they are interested, send them the pitch deck, get them on a one call, and then they can open a lot of doors for you. So that's about my...
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you, Apoorva. So I'll just add to this. Apoorva mentioned, you know, his journey, but, you know, just to share with you, in that journey from India to Singapore to Middle East, now they're raising around in Europe. Okay, so is it possible for Indian startups to do it? Of course it is. You have to have the right story, you've got to have the right background, and you've got to build a real business. Don't just expect to build a story, build a real business. And, you know, I always tell a lot of the startups or a lot of the organizations that I work with or I talk to that build a story, but also build a real business. You've got to have traction. If you don't have traction, you don't have a chance in hell of raising money. It's as simple as that. So, thank you, Apoorva, and we wish you the best of luck in your next round of fundraise. And, you know, all the people here who listen to you, yeah, you must appeal to them to put in money into your startup next time round. So, okay, good luck to you.
Thank you.
So, next question is, Arun, you've been within the government ecosystem as well as the private ecosystem. Let's just talk about how the Indian government is supporting startups. Apoorva mentioned some stuff, but in your experience, you've got NASSCOM, TAI, Tamil Nadu government, and, you know, government of Kerala. So you've been through the entire works. What's your experience been?
So, I'm not audible, right? Or am I audible? Yeah. Let me ask one question. The government supports you. From startups, what is that one expectation that the government has? Can anyone give an answer?
Anybody? Yeah?
Growth.
Sorry?
Exactly. Employment.
Employment, job
That
creation.
is job creation.
Yeah.
With the current scenario that is with the globalization coming in and the lot of these migration getting reduced, startup is one source that government is also keenly looking forward to create jobs and opportunities in the country. So government, if I have to summarize in one word, what is that one change that I have seen in the government in the last 10, 12 years in my startup ecosystem journey is, from a regulator, government has come in to become a facilitator. So that is exactly what has happened. So if your government wanted to create policies, government creates policies, those guidelines. So that was what 10, 11 years back government was for startups. But right now, if you look at it, the central government and state governments, everybody is putting in their effort to actually go ahead and create value for startups, go ahead and become a big, the first facilitator, the front runner. So Maneesh was talking about deep tech startups not getting funded. There is a lot of, that patient capital is not there. So the Samriddhi scheme which Apoorva mentioned, so if you are able to go ahead and say that I need 80 lakhs or 1 crore, you raise 50 lakhs. You raise 50 lakhs from, you get a commitment of 50 lakhs from somebody. Government will also give in that 50 lakhs. So you, I think it's not 50 lakhs, there is a cap of 40 lakhs. So, and there are umpteen number of schemes between state government and central government. Some of the easily accessible money is Nidhi Prayas grant. So anybody with an idea can go and get up to 7 lakhs, 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs basis your idea. And you should all go ahead and actually explore this for two reasons. One, you get an exposure into pitching to investors. And what happens is in many times, government finds the best of the best investors from that particular ecosystem to come and sit as a panelist for it. Because it's a prestigious thing for them. Who has validated this particular government funds to go into that company? So one is you get that visibility in front of the investors. And to talk specifically of governments, there has been like fund of funds that is being created. So that risk is to an extent mitigated for PE and VC firms when they invest in certain companies. And without the government support, we have like around 100 plus unicorns right now in India. So except for a few, very few, I think Zoho is one, and I'm not sure which are the other ones, but then except for a very few, there are no unicorns or billion-dollar valuation companies which has not taken funds or support from PEs and VCs. How did this happen? Because there has been a lot of government intervention to make sure that the funding happens, startups are projected in the right way. So 10 years back, if you had gone to Jitex, it will have been like here and there 1 or 2 Indian startups or few companies, and mostly people will be roaming around as visitors. But right now if you go, you will see an Odisha government stall, you will see a Kerala government stall, you will see a Karnataka stall, you will see a Tamil Nadu stall. Government is actually taking that initiative and making sure that the startups get a global exposure. So that way, over a period of time, government is also transitioning their thought process from a regulator mindset to a facilitator mindset, which has been helpful for the startups.
Thanks, Arun. I think, my experience has been the Indian government is doing an incredible job. It can always be better, but I think it has to be from both sides. Startups have to show the results in order to be able to get that money. Maneesh, what's your perspective on the government side?
Yeah, of course, the government is playing a very pivotal role, I would say. And so the first check writing, I would say, that is coming from a grant. And always try to get yourself connected with the various schemes of the government. It may be the Nidhi Prayas, it may be Nidhi Triple S scheme, or it may be the Samriddhi scheme. So try to look at what is being available free of cost, I would say, because grant is not something where you are diluting your equity. So raise the first fund from the government so that at least you're able to do your prototyping stage, you're able to pass to your MPV stage. So at least you cover that journey, and then you go with raising the fund for growth perspective, not from the perspective of developing something or you being at a stage. Use the money which the government is providing to you, use the trickle, and that may be helpful to you. As well as I would say, at the early stage of yours, appoint a good mentor as well. A lot of times you don't look at from the bigger perspective. If you have a good mentor, they will be able to help you, guide you, as well as try to connect with good incubation cell as well, right? Because a lot of things are happening which they will help you, guide you. This you go and apply this way or that thing. The events are happening. So these all things will be helpful in overall perspective.
Thank you, Manish. I'll just give you one comment I'll make on what Maneesh said. A lot of startups think having a advisory board and a mentor is like a formality. They need a photograph there. That's not the role. Please understand. If you want to have constructive use of your mentors or your advisory board, start talking to people who can contribute, okay? Because they have experience behind them. They are people who've been there and done it. Make use of them. There are several good people in the ecosystem who are willing to help you. They are genuinely keen to work with you and see you go up the growth path. So look for people who can work with you, who want to contribute, and who can genuinely make a difference. Okay? That's extremely critical. Last piece, sorry, go ahead.
Just one thing I would wish to add, like when you appoint an advisor, create a to-do list for the advisor also. Sir, these things I needed from you, and this sort of connection I require it. So give a thorough background check of whom you are appointing as an advisor. Otherwise, what will happen? It will just be a picture that being presenting on the PPT and nothing else that is happening.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely. So I think let me come to the last bit of our interaction. Very briefly over to Christophe and to Ajay. India is a large country and there's a huge amount of social impact that is required. Okay? Social impact is a big part of what we do within our startup ecosystem. Whether it's healthcare or it's agri-tech or it's clean tech or whatever else. Yeah. We can't progress as a nation and we can't progress as an ecosystem if we just look at the deep tech side and we don't look at the social side of things. So, Christophe, I know iCapital Ventures, being part of that business, there's a lot of social impact that iCapital has driven in Africa. Okay? Maybe one or two small stories about how you've gone and done it in Africa, yeah, and what impacts they have made. And similarly, Ajayji, you have worked on the agri-tech side quite a bit. Some of your experiences, very briefly, if you could share.
Thank you, Ish. Our experience, I could have two stories about that. The first one is on the investor side. What is very important from investors, of course, is to have yields from their investment, but this is the basic. The thing is, the investor, they have to be sustainable, responsible. So if you want to make yields, and big yields, you can go to a bank or to the stock exchange and invest your money and maybe have risk management, 5, 10, 15% yields. This is good, but this is not enough for us at iCapital Ventures. The retail investors we have, they have to be involved into real economy. Real economy is the right side of investment in our point of view. If you want to do financial investment, you can go to see other financial organizations. We are not the right way. So in terms of sustainability for investors, you have to be involved into real economy. And as you said, you have to be involved into as a mentor or as an advisor into the company you are investing with. Second part, from a startup point of view. We are supporting startups and we promote them. Of course, Edubuk is an amazing social impact in terms of job matching, in terms of certification, in terms of education journey. So we support, of course, this type of social impact. In impact, there is three things. There is ESG. I spoke already about the G, governance. So there is the E, ecology. About ecology, we have to watch a lot because there is a lot of greenwashing or green bashing. So this is to be very assessed, and maybe Ajay will speak about it. But I'm going to speak about the S, social impact, and we have a good story about that in Africa with a startup that we support that is called Spotties. And Spotties in Africa is doing a great job. It's about mobility. It's about car services, two-wheeler services. And the thing is, in India, like in Africa, there is a lot of informal economy. It's maybe 70 to 80% of the services. It's a lot, it's a huge. And we were speaking, Arun, about employment and about how to create jobs and how to structure and to support. In that case, with the Spotties, we support the informal economy to become formal economy, to structure their business. Because without that, you cannot develop your business, you cannot have fund, you cannot raise money, you cannot buy a new machine for your garage, you cannot develop yourself. And if you don't develop yourself, you cannot be, if I speak about informal economy, you cannot be protected as a human being, as an entrepreneur. So if you formalize it, we learn them at Spotties to formalize, to structure the business and to see what is the asset to pay VAT, to pay tax. Why paying tax? This is very important. And at Spotties, we spend one day on that to learn them how you can develop your business, because we are speaking about business, how you can develop your business in one day to structure your business, to have new employees, and to develop your financial innovation with your customers. Because there is one thing we have to say. The first investor you have, who is it? Your customers. It's your revenues. Your customers are your first investors. Your revenues is the first source of profitability. So in saying that way, at Spotties in Africa, we train 150 garage services, garage maintenance providers to support local drivers. Because informal economy is the key there. So we are doing social impact with this startup that is doing great there and will support the mobility. And mobility, we know that in terms of green economy, it's the first polluter on the ground. So in that way, I spoke about globalization, internationalization. So we will put this process in India as well in a couple of weeks.
Thank you. Ajay ji, over to you.
Thanks, Ish. Thanks, Christophe. Love listening to you always. My ASR ventures, when I established it, the first word I said, invest in impact innovations. If you're not creating impact, I think you're not making a difference. And within Europe, I see that's big things are happening. So when we're thinking, because when I come to India, we are creating so many good things. The impact is global. It's in my three focus areas right now is agri, energy efficiency, and the third is the data, which is basically the cloud, AI, everything. And I believe these are the three biggest pillars which will create the biggest impact in the future and the now. And Indian startups can play the biggest role. And in the Europe, I see a lot of startups, but with sometimes I see that they have the limited viewpoint. They cannot even comprehend what, as an Indian, we can comprehend what our problems are. Because we can solve our problems much better. But we can also solve the bigger problems. When we talk about agri-tech, for instance, which I missed the message, we could be the food plate of the world. And that is something which I miss when I hear about from India. We talk about one small thing. When we talk about impact, we're making the bigger story. And the only story which I remember from my father is the three people who was carrying the brick. One was saying, I'm building a wall. The someone is saying, I'm just carrying the brick. And the third said, I'm building a temple. And these all startups are building a temple. And that is the story of the impact, and which I always look into it. And this is the story I go for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, I think we've been through a host of discussions. Just to sum it up, we have tremendous potential in India as a country. Somewhere over the years, while we were on top at one stage, we also ended up losing the plot and going down somewhere. A lot of people said, why are Indian startups moving outside the country? Why can't we retain them here? Why can't we raise enough capital here? Why can't we raise risk or patient capital, as we called it over here? So these are all questions that we've discussed, or we've kind of contemplated what the answers could be. However, the story, if I were to really look at it, India can only grow as an ecosystem in the startup space, or you can only raise funds if you do the right things in terms of delivering good tech products. So the tech products are good, the impact products, and why I say impact, India is a large country. If you can have an impact here, you can have an impact anywhere in the world. Yeah, so local problems, global solutions. If that's what you can tailor, you have a tremendous future, tremendous potential. There are investors around the world who are happy to come into India, but they don't know enough about the ecosystem. The right messages or the right connects don't happen. Our communication is not great, but now the government is facilitating a lot of that. Private groups are facilitating a lot of that, and Indian entrepreneurs are becoming more and more confident. they're becoming more and more exposed to global trends, values, etc. And I think that's what's making a tremendous impact on the ecosystem in India. Last but not the least, alternative funding models are coming into India in a big way. Alternative funding models are the key to raising a lot of global funding. Alternative funding models. Imagine there's only X percentage which is right at the top, which has a lot of money. But 80%, which is the rest of the people, have a lot of money but smaller in number. Why is it that you can't democratize it and tap those smaller ticket sizes? But if I were to add up those smaller ticket sizes and look at them as a total pie, that's a lot bigger than what you would see at the top. Question was interesting. Yes? Okay. You earned your daily keep. So, thank you very much. Stay back for a few minutes. We have a very interesting announcement to make. In the next 3-4 minutes, the MC will make that announcement. It will be interesting for all of you to hear it. Won't take more than 5, maybe 7-10 minutes. So, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That was an insightful session. I'm sure like all of us learned a great deal on fundraising. Thank you to all of you for your time and effort to be here. Now it's time to express our gratitude. We know there's an important announcement, but before that we'd like to express our gratitude to our speakers. So I'd request Dr. Anand to present the memento on the stage as a token of appreciation to our guests.